All right, we are live. Little road work. S&L, Landry Locker, Cody Stoots with you. We're live at Big City Wings in Eado. Texans Lions on Sunday. Got a lot to get into. Let's just start right off the top though, with the injury report. By the way, we're going to be out here for a while. Happy hour has begun.
Yep.
They got the best specials in the game. What sticks out with this injury report?
I mean, the biggest thing is that Nico Collins is back. Nico Collins is practicing. They've got Nico Collins practicing. And with him practicing, there's a chance he plays Sunday. That's the biggest thing that jumps off. They open the practice window. They get 21 days to activate him. I don't know why you open the practice window on Friday when you could have just waited till Wednesday if he wasn't ready.
They're weird, though.
They're weird.
They're weird about injuries.
They're weird. They're very weird about injuries. They did this with Joe Mixon. He practiced on Friday and then didn't play for 2 more games. So they're very weird about injuries. But the Nico Collins situation is the one to monitor. He practiced. That's the first step to getting on the field for Sunday. We'll know officially tomorrow if they activate him or not. Then Tank Dell pops up with the injury. He's got the back injury. He's questionable now. I'm not too worried about it, but anytime you're questionable with a brand new injury on a Friday, Landry, you do get a little bit worried about him.
Yeah, the wide receiver position is thin right now. And I mean, they told us that by trading for Diggs. Like, this is the same receiving core you had last year minus Noah Brown, and you made the Diggs trade. So the wide receiver core is thin. My whole thing is this, and I know people don't want to hear this. I don't even think this is a big game on Sunday at this point. I don't think it's a big game. I almost feel like the Texans are in a unique situation where if anyone is banged up, you can sit them out. That's how ass the division is. Like, they have a 3-game lead. They have a 3-game lead over Indianapolis right now. And if you look at the next 4 games before the bye week, the Texans have the Lions, they have the Cowboys without Dak, and then they have the Titans and the Jags. During that time, the Colts, they have the Bills, they have the Lions, and they have another tough game. You could actually clinch the division in the next 4 weeks by going 2-2. So if Nico Collins, you're not going to catch the Chiefs. So if Nico Collins is nicked up, and I actually thought they were cautious with him. If Nico Collins is nicked up, Tank Dell's nicked up, Will Anderson's nicked up, you can rest these guys because that's how bad this division is right now.
So you're in favor of not playing Nico even if he's ready?
No, he's ready. I think they were cautious. But if there's any doubt at this point, now if Indianapolis had won last week or the Texans had lost one of the 2 to Indianapolis and you only had like a 1-game lead on them, that's fine. You're 3 games up on the Indianapolis Colts. They're not going to catch you. And I think we actually have the side-by-side of the next 4 weeks. I think they were cautious with Nico, and I think that he is good to go. But if he's not, like in the case of Will Anderson, just rest him and get ready for the playoffs because you have a good enough team. Like, your elite talent with Nico Collins and CJ Stroud is such that you have a good enough team to where you can flip the switch and try to get in. You just got to win the division. Look at this. We got this in front of us. So the Texans have the Lions, they have the Cowboys, they have the Titans, and they have the Jags. The Jags and Titans right now are 2 of the worst 4 teams in the NFL. 2 of the worst 4 teams in the NFL. The Cowboys don't have Dak Prescott. They can't run the ball. They have no receivers outside of CeeDee Lamb. So that's 3 out of 4 games. You go 2-2 there. Now let's look at Indianapolis. And then the Texans have the bye week. Indianapolis has the Bills. They go to New York and take on the Jets. They got the Lions, and then they're in New England. You're not going to lose any ground to Indianapolis in the next 4 weeks. So if Nico Collins is not ready to go, you don't put him out there. I think the fact that he's there, I think he could have played last week because he's not walking around. He's not functioning. They're not treating him like someone that's extremely injured. I think if this were a huge game or last week were a huge game, I think Nico Collins might have played.
Yeah, I mean, look, if they hadn't put him on IR, maybe they would have played him last week. So I get your sentiment of, hey, if Nico's not 100%, maybe you don't go. If Nico's not totally ready, maybe you don't put him out there. I don't know that you want to get embarrassed twice in primetime back-to-back weeks, though. And I don't know they can beat this Detroit Lions team unless they've got Nico Collins in this game. So if he's close, I'd play him. If he's close, I'd put him in there and get him out there on the field. And he changes the way that they operate this offense. He changes how good they can be through the air. He makes Joe Mixon better, and he makes the blocking better because he can win a quick route. He can get open, and they don't have to worry about 5-7 step drops because these other guys can't get open.
No, I think Nico can be to the pass blocking like almost like Mixon is to the run blocking, because I don't think the run blocking is great. I think Mixon just makes it look better. I think Nico can add to that. Your point, though, is kind of why I'm saying you don't risk Nico Collins, because he is that important. Like him and Joe Mixon are the juice. Like they are the juice of this team. They are the heartbeat of this team. They are the intangibles of this team. They are the all-pro caliber weapons for CJ Stroud. So I just think the Texans have the luxury of playing it safe. Like Will Anderson, I would let Will Anderson sit for a few weeks. I would let Will Anderson sit for a few weeks. Maybe even 4. Maybe even 4 weeks, and just have him ready for the bye week and have Will Anderson 100% ready to go. And I don't know how hurt he is, but I'm erring on the side of caution. I don't want you gutting it out. There's no gutting it out for this Texans team with the division that they're in.
Look, I certainly understand your line of thinking that the division is the most important thing. You accomplish that, you get that under control, and then you have those guys available for December. You have them available for January. You have them available for when you're hosting a playoff game, maybe the Steelers or the Ravens or whoever. You have them available. I get that. I just don't know that they're that hurt that you're worried about, like, hey, you can't play this game. You can't play that game next week in Dallas. I don't know that it's that bad, so to speak, for this team.
Gerald says, bro, talking about the division like we give a F. I'm assuming he said our expectation is higher than the damn pointless division. I'm not sitting here saying celebrate the division. I'm just saying that the hope is that Nico Collins is healthy and you can flip the switch, and you have the luxury of being able to go flip the switch. A lot of times when you just need to get in to make noise, that's fine. Nico Collins, Will Anderson, they're that important. Like you need those guys. So you do have the luxury. I'm not sitting here saying win the division Bill O'Brien style and there's some sort of celebration. I just think they have the luxury of being very, very cautious.
Doesn't matter, Landry. Back-to-back AFC South championships. Doesn't matter, Landry. Back-to-back AFC South championships.
Not all that. On the soup, LXD says he needs to play. Doesn't matter. Play everyone that can play any given Sunday. We need to get as far ahead of the division as possible. Division's done. Now, maybe the 2 seed, like you could.
You calling it, Kornacki? You're calling it the division's over?
Division's over. It's done. It's finished. That's it. So they're in the playoffs. They're going to be hosting a playoff game. That's it. Indianapolis is not making up 3 weeks. 3 games. They're not doing that. Jacksonville and Tennessee, they're lost causes as well. They're not making up anything. So, and I don't even know if it's going to be in their best interest to win. So the division is done. You're going to be hosting a playoff game. I can be talked into the 2 seed because I think ideally you want to host Baltimore. And you're gonna be hosting them in December or whoever it is, whether it's Baltimore or Buffalo. You want to host those teams. You don't want to go to Baltimore or to Buffalo. So I can get down with they got to get the 2 seed. I'm not even thinking about the Chiefs right now because that's just way too far ahead. You're as far behind. You're further behind the Chiefs than the Colts are behind you.
Yeah, the 1 seed and the bye, that seems to be very much out of reach now for this Texans team. It seems to be like it's a dream at this point if you're thinking about that. But 2 seed, you don't like you're going to play Baltimore. You already played Buffalo and you beat them. All you've got to do to finish ahead of Buffalo is have the same record as them. They're only 1 game better than the Texans right now. They're 7-2. The Texans are 6-3, and they're going to have some games that they're going to drop down the stretch. That's going to happen. And then the same conversation goes with the Ravens. Hey, you want to finish ahead of the Ravens? You want to make sure that in the playoffs, maybe they got to come to your place. Well, you're going to have to beat them one-on-one on Christmas Day and finish with the same record, or you're going to have a better record than them. And that doesn't seem super likely. It feels like Baltimore's really got things rolling, got things going. And the Texans have 3 really tough games left on the schedule. Detroit this weekend. They've got Kansas City and Baltimore, and they've got those 2 in a short turnaround as well. So, look, you got to win the division. You got to host the playoff game. You got to give yourself a chance in that 4-5 matchup if you end up in the 4 spot. And if you don't end up in the 4 spot and make everything go through Houston, that's bonus and that's gravy. And I guess to your point, you don't have to have Detroit to do that.
I got my eye on the prize. It's not a loser mentality. I got my eye on the prize. And the prize is you get in the playoffs, CJ Stroud's healthy, Nico Collins is healthy, you got your dogs, and you get the job done. Beating Detroit, that's cool. But at the end of the day, that's just one win. We saw 2019, the Texans beat the Patriots. They acted like they won the Super Bowl when that happened. Like they acted like they won a Super Bowl. It didn't mean a damn thing. What's going to happen is the Texans are going to be the 2 or 3 seed. They're going to host a playoff game round 1. And then the likelihood of them doing what they want to do and reaching their goals is going to come down to CJ Stroud flipping the switch, and CJ Stroud flipping the switch like we've seen Joe Burrow do, is going to depend on having Nico Collins healthy. And the defense, I think the defense is going to ball out no matter what. They're going to need Will Anderson. So I got my eye on the prize. Print the division caps. The division is over. And that gives you a little bit of time to sit back and relax. Nobody else, like no other contender has that luxury. No other contender has the luxury. The Texans right now, they're living luxuriously because it's not, we got to keep a 1-game lead against the Colts. The Colts ruined that opportunity Sunday night. Like if the Colts had won that game, this would be different. This would be a lot different of a conversation. They failed to capitalize. And you beat them twice and you have the head-to-head. And none of the other teams even have a chance in hell at threatening you. So the Texans have a unique luxury right now to where you've heard D'Amico say when we've talked to him, nobody's healthy this time of the year. Nobody's healthy. Everybody, you can get healthy. You can get healthy at this point. But Nico is healthy, so he's out there. So that's a good thing. I'm not saying rest Nico. I'm saying they can play it cautious with Nico and with Will Anderson. Take your time.
Here's what I want with Nico Collins. I can get your play cautiously, and I can also get him on the field on Sunday. He doesn't have to have a full rep. He doesn't have to have a full range of repetitions. You can go out there. You can play Nico Collins a third of what you would play him, and you could still get a lot of production. This team, when Nico was playing, they spent time as one of the best passing offenses in football. Like, that's how good he was. Now, obviously, that was when they still had Stefon Diggs, but they didn't have Joe Mixon for a good stretch of that. You haven't had more than a game and a half of Mixon and Nico Collins on the field at the same time. If you could get a little bit of that Sunday night, that'd go a long way for this team, just for individually this game.
And I do think there's a save butts element. We can move on from the Nico discussion. Let's just talk about Nico Collins and if he is on the field, what that brings. I do think there's a save butts mentality where all of a sudden the offensive line looks better. I think the offensive line automatically looks better without Kenyon Green. And I think the offensive line automatically looks better as soon as Nico Collins is in the lineup. Whether that means there's just other elements, whether that means there's not as much aggressiveness, there is kind of a lot of value in Nico Collins when it comes to the just the overall way in which this offensive line is going to look. I think I think he is to the pass game as Mixon is to the run game. That's I think that's what Nico Collins is. And the way in which he plays, you know how like sometimes like Tank Dell can have a 30-yard catch, but it just looks different when Nico Collins has the 30-yard catch. Almost like when you watch San Francisco and you watch Deebo Samuel run after the catch, like when he's going, there's a little more element, there's a little more testosterone. The team seems to gravitate to it. That's kind of what it's like when Joe Mixon makes a play or Nico Collins makes a play. There's just a lot of extra intangible value when those guys do what they do.
Maybe a little bit more of that fun that CJ Stroud was looking for this week when he talked at the podium about how they get things going on offense. They got to have more fun. It's a little bit more fun when Nico does what Nico does.
And I thought that was crazy with CJ. And that young man never, ever ceases to amaze me, CJ Stroud, in the way in which he can be getting beat up, just look helpless out there to where he doesn't have a chance in hell at doing what he wants to do. And then he comes back, and when they ask him what he needs to do, he needs to have more fun. That's just incredible leadership by CJ Stroud. He didn't say, we've got to give me time to get stuff done, and we can't win games this way. He came back from that break, and CJ Stroud said, we've got to have more fun. That's just incredible, intangible leadership from CJ Stroud.
All right, a couple of super chats. Let's get to these here, Landry. Birdie Boy asks, what are your thoughts on having Bobby Slowick call plays from the box instead of the sideline? I have no thoughts on that. I don't think that makes Bobby all of a sudden better.
I don't know that there's like one. See, to me, like, I don't hate the thought because there's guys who call it good from the sidelines and there's guys who call it good from the booth. And I don't think there's like one right way to do it. But you just want to change something about what Bobby Slowick's doing. So if he was in the booth, this person, Birdie Boy, would probably be saying he should come down to the sidelines. You just don't want to watch this same ass offense the way it's been. And I think that's basically what he's saying.
Yeah, we're not doing the whole change for change sake. You want to change and improve something. And one of the things that he is going to get changed is he's going to have a different offensive line than the one that they have been running out there. Looks like Kendrick Green is going to get that opportunity at left guard. Jarrett Patterson's also an option for this offensive line if something goes wrong at center or right guard or at left guard with Kendrick Green. So you'll get a change in the way Bobby Slowick's operating because he's going to get a different offensive line working into this. Another super chat, David weighs in on this one. He says, I agree with Landry 100%. This should be strategic towards the Super Bowl goal going forward. You guys couldn't wait until I flew in to hold an event, question mark.
Oh,
there will be more of these.
Plenty of events. There's plenty of this. And shout out to everyone in the chat. Look, I just think the Texans have an incredible luxury, and I also think that the Texans have incredible potential to be able to flip the switch. Like, as bad as things have been, they have elite talent at positions that can carry you when it matters most. Quarterback, receiver, D end. And even if the Texans were the 7th seed in the playoffs, they would have a puncher's chance on any given Sunday with the elite talent they have. And they also have a luxury that a lot of these teams don't have. You mentioned changing the offensive line, and it is S&L. We're live out here at Big City Wings in Eado. We got a nice crowd out here. This is really fun road work. Shout out to all the people. It's nice to meet some folks.
Real quick, as you mentioned the offensive line, Corey with the super chat, he asks, Kendrick Green or Jarrett Patterson? I think it's going to be Kendrick Green. I'm fine with either of them because neither of those guys is Kenyon Green, so I'm fine with either of them.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do on the offensive line. It's got to be something. It's got to be something. And quite frankly, I also think, like, to add to this initial point about having the luxury of resting guys, I also think you kind of have the luxury of being able to try a lot of stuff on the offensive line. And I look, I'm not sitting here saying you should like do a shuffle every week, although it kind of seemed to work better last week when they were doing that, shuffling around. But
the offensive line coach didn't quite have a reason why that worked last year.
We'll get to that in a second. That was just a bizarre ass situation. We'll talk about that in a second. But I just don't. I hope they don't just like keep this offensive line as is if this continues. I hope they're willing to move Titus to guard and start Blake Fisher or do some things. I hope they're willing to kind of just move around and do as much as they can because they also have that luxury when it comes to just kind of having the division in control.
Yeah, figure out what works. You know, if you've got a little space, you've got a little extra room there in the division, figure out what's worked, figure out what's going to work and who your best 5 guys are. We hear so much about, you got to put the best 5 guys on the field. Well, they haven't been doing that. So let's find out exactly who the best 5 guys are when it comes to this offensive line.
All right, so I want to get to this Chris Strausser stuff yesterday. What was that? Can you just tell the people what happened? Like what was going on with that whole setup and the manner in which that went? And we'll get into what he actually said. Offensive line coach Chris Strausser yesterday. We got to speak with him.
So the Texans made the offensive line coach Chris Strausser available to the media, but they did not make him available to the media with video. It was audio only. And we could ask him about whatever we wanted with the offensive line. We had a lot of conversation with him, but there was no video allowed with the offensive line coach, which, okay, that's fine, I guess. I can't imagine what the what the issue with having him on video is. Like, I know way back in the day, people went to Matt Schaub's house, but is somebody going to run up on Chris Strausser at the vegetable aisle at HEB? Is he going to come to Big City Wings and not be able to have a beautiful dinner because people are going to recognize him if we put him on video?
I really didn't understand it. And I actually felt bad for him because he was basically in the corner and he had a bunch of hyenas just like talking. And the other thing about it is the way in which it was presented, it almost felt like it was like a bigger deal and you almost felt obligated to ask a question. Like, I've made fun of you in the past for wanting to talk to Chris Strausser. And I don't even know that Chris Strausser is really like the worst O-line coach. I don't know. Like, a lot of times it just seems like these guys are getting roughed up. Like they're just not winning their one-on-one battle. But he did, like, when I heard him talk, he did say some pretty weird things. Like, he said that Kenyon Green was basically a rookie. He said that Juice Scruggs was basically a rookie. He talked about the system, and it's like, what was Jared Patterson last year? Like, Jared Patterson was a rookie last year, and he was a 6th-round pick. Kenyon Green's in his 3rd season. Like, this is like the 2nd year of it. So I did not understand when Chris Strausser said that about Kenyon Green and Juice Scruggs, that they're basically rookies, because when I hear that, it gives me the BOB PTSD where you're acting like it takes 3 years to learn an effing system. And I thought those days were over. So when I hear an offensive line coach go up there and say stuff like that, it makes me think, okay, maybe there's a reason that these guys don't get the job done for a number of reasons, for a multitude of reasons. I was very unimpressed with Chris Strausser yesterday. Very, very, very unimpressed with this guy. And I'm not like a fire the O-line coach type of guy, but that was a very unimpressive display by Chris Strausser, much worse than anything we've seen from D'Amico or Bobby Slowick or anything like that.
Yeah, well, it's their first year in the system. It was Josh Jones' first year in the system last year, and they played him right off the bat, and there were a couple of games where he looked good. It was Kendrick Green last year, first year in the system. He looked good right off the bat a couple of different times. Like, he didn't have any answers either. D'Amico Ryans hasn't had answers this week for the offensive line. Chris Strausser didn't have any answers either. He acted like it was business as usual, and they just had a hiccup. Like, this wasn't a season-long thing. It was like, oh, yeah, guys got to do their job. Oh, okay. Are they capable of doing their job? Yeah, they are. Why haven't they? Well, we're working on that. Oh, really? Okay. Sounds good.
And then Kunkel had to drop the stat on him, and he was just like, he almost looked like he was like surprised by the stat. It's like, you should know these stats more than anybody. You of all people should know the stats. The hell are you at?
When he was like, Kunkel was breaking it down that, like, over the past 3 weeks, they're like 30th in pass protection and all these different things. And Chris Strausser was like, well, what stats? And Kunkel laid it out for him. Will Kunkel from Fox 26. And Strausser was like, yeah, well, got to be better. Like, okay.
Got to be better. We got to do a better job. Yeah, Chris Strausser, very unimpressive guy. I do not miss your conversations with Chris Strausser.
Well, here's what I will say, though, Landry. I don't know that Chris Strausser is totally working with the best situation. Like, is he good enough? And he did take some accountability.
No, I agree. He might be scared to call his players out, but I'm just saying the job he did going up there, I don't feel any better about the guys that are supervising the biggest problem with the football team. That's the thing. I agree with you. The coaches don't want to come out and say, these guys suck. They stink. They can't block. There's nothing that I can do. I put them in position. They can't get it done, which I think might be the case, because there's something like with the offensive line. I've said this 100 times. It's either this coaching staff is so trash that the more time they spend with them, the worse they are, or some of these new pieces just aren't as good as the guys they plugged in last year. That could be like a possible mystery when it comes to the offensive line. I'm just saying that when I heard Chris Strausser talk, I didn't feel any better about him. D'Amico makes me feel better about the defense. Bobby kind of makes me feel better about the offense sometimes, but I think he's kind of playing that offensive line thing too. Chris Strausser made me feel like these guys are basically being watched by a substitute teacher and they're spitting spit wads during film sessions.
Now, hold on. So you're telling me that Chris Strausser yesterday, when we met with him in the media room, we weren't allowed to videotape it, but we could audio tape it. and you can listen to it on YouTube. We put it up. You're telling me that he didn't instill confidence in you in that conversation?
No, he was terrible. He was terrible. He was awful. I mean, you thought that was a good performance?
No.
Why didn't they send his ass to the podium? It was weird.
I don't know.
I mean, it was really weird. I mean, and then he comes in there and I'm like, this is the O-line coach? That looks like a kicking coach.
Well, now we're doing – well, hold on. Not every O-line coach has to be a fat guy.
No, but I mean, a little. I mean, come on, man. I mean, look, give me a little something, dude.
You want a great big fat person coaching the offensive line?
Do you think that guy could push a blocking sled? I'm being serious. Do you think that guy could push a blocking sled?
Because he knows the technique. He knows the technique. It's not all about size, Landry.
Long car.
He knows the technique. All right, a couple of super chats. Let's get to these. Herman says, rookie or not, he didn't produce. Talking about Kenyon Green. Let's freaking go 35-28 Texans. Okay, all right. Gustavo with a super chat. What are y'all drinking? Gonna send y'all a shot. Landry's taking a little drinking hiatus.
Oh, I'm on that. You already know what I'm on now. You already know what I'm on.
The high grade
marijuana called Kush on the streets. Did you know what that was?
You already know.
Me neither.
I'm not picky, Gustavo. We appreciate the super
Yes,
chat.
he is.
I'm not
yes,
picky.
He is.
Texan says,
boneless tenders.
if you combine the faces of Daniel Jeremiah and Rhett Lewis from the NFL channels, move the sticks, you would get Landry Locker. He sent me this before. You do look like the combination of Daniel Jeremiah and Rhett Lewis.
Let me see this because I feel like I'm getting grossly profiled. All right, Daniel Jeremiah and Rhett Lewis. Who's Rhett Lewis?
Rhett Lewis is one of their like roving guys.
I look like a token white guy. Like just get it off your chest. Say it with your chest, brother.
He's sent me the side by side before, and it's striking. So if somebody wants to put together a side by side and tweet Landry at Landry Locker so he can see it, that'd be great. That'd be great. Thank you, Texan. And then our guy Matt Marr, very generous as always. Big Dog's looking good. And he's here. He's made it all the way in.
Matt is in the building. The legend.
Good to meet him. If you've been in the chats before, you know Matt Marr. And then Zach Rose says, we need the vest back on the headset. Yeah, Caserio's not fixing this just because he gets a headset. He's not fixing this.
Hey, who says he's not on the headset, though?
You know something I don't know?
I'm just saying, who says he's not on the headset?
Okay, now we need people who bring their binoculars that sit opposite the press box. We need them to look into the coach's booth to see if he's on the headset.
Well, you know, like, have you ever walked in the restroom the same time as Caserio in the press box?
Yeah, he goes pee every 2-minute warning, just like I do.
Yeah, Caserio uses the same restroom as the media, and you'll see him, and he's like rushing in there to take a piss, and it's like, oh, what's up, man? You know, I leave him alone. That's the one time I don't.
But you talk to him at the urinal. You're a urinal talker.
Am I a urinal talker?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just got to be, but not with Nick. I just let him. I feel like I got to stay out of his way there.
I don't even.
I told you about after the Cleveland game with Caserio when he fucked my hand up.
No. What happened?
Dude, so it was after the Browns playoff game last year, and we were sitting in the media waiting for the players, and I went down there early because it was such an assing and it was crowded, and I'm just sitting there, and Caserio comes running down, and he's like, F them. And I'm just like looking over, I'm like, damn, okay, Caserio, he's got like some gas. And then like someone in the media gave him a fist bump, and then I just had my hand just sitting there. I wasn't trying to give him a fist bump. Dude, he punched the hell out of it. Like just like a pop. Like I could barely like grip the steering wheel. My hand was effed up for like a week. Just pop. Have you ever had him like dab you up where he like slaps your back?
Yes.
Dude.
Well,
he's way too juiced up.
I think he just doesn't know his own strength. All those 5 a.m., 4 a.m. workouts, he's all He's got all the muscles.
Zach says I'm a urinal. What does a urinal talker look like? Like if you know someone at the urinal, or if you're at the game and oh man, that was a terrible play call or something like that, but not like some stranger.
So I tell you exactly what a urinal talker looks like. We got our guy Dom from New Jersey here. He celebrated his bachelor party. They're going to the game. His buddy
urinal talkers.
No, his buddy Sal looks like a urinal talker. Sal looks like he would talk to you at the urinal.
Are you a urinal talker? A urinal talker?
Do you talk to people at the urinal? Yeah, right.
He says no. He says no.
Dom's a urinal talker. Don't do that. No eye contact, so it's okay. Well, where are you looking then? Okay, good. If the folks hadn't noticed, we're out of Big City Wings in Eado.
Yeah, Big City Wings in Eado. Pretty nice crowd. I just put it on Insta. This is a good time. What did you make of me getting Joe Mixon that C on his chest? Like how much credit do I get for this?
I think they should give you a honorary media captain C because you got Joe Mixon his C on his jersey.
No, I think they should give me a authentic Joe Mixon jersey with a C and let me have a silent auction or something like that at a remote. I think I deserve it.
So for those who don't know what we're talking about, Landry, you talked to me about this on Monday. You tweeted about it on Wednesday, and you said, hey, Stefon Diggs not playing rest of the year. He was a captain. You got an open captain spot. It should go to Joe Mixon. All these guys talk about how important Joe Mixon is and how impressive Joe Mixon is as a teammate. It should go to Joe Mixon. Lo and behold, what happened when Joe Mixon walked into the team meeting this morning? D'Amico Ryans showed a big slideshow of how you could be a good teammate, how you be a team captain, and it was Joe Mixon highlights, and then they made Joe Mixon a team captain here in the middle of the season, and he was pumped about it.
Yeah, he was serious.
He is he's the most important player of this offense outside of C.J. Stroud. He's got to be excellent on Sunday. He's got to be excellent down the stretch. They're sunk if they lose Joe Mixon for whatever reason. So he's got to be fantastic. And I think it's cool that it matters so much to him because I think there are guys that have the C where it doesn't matter that much. But I think for Joe Mixon, it does matter.
Someone says the audio is as good as the O-line. Hey, ain't got the home Wi-Fi around here.
Well, then I'm gonna give the same excuses that they give. We're gonna do our jobs. Okay, we're gonna do our jobs, and we're gonna do our jobs better. And there you go.
Do you think that if the Texans had gotten Saquon, which was Plan A, do you think that they're still in the same position, or do you think Mixon's a better fit?
I think Mixon's style is a better fit for what they needed. I think Saquon might have got buried trying to do too much behind this bad offensive line.
I think that I don't know, the results might be similar. I do think that if Mixon had been available, I think they might have liked Mixon more. I feel like I
agree
because he was it wasn't even an option. It's not your typical Plan B. It's not like you wanted this guy and then you settled for this guy. Joe Mixon was never available when Saquon was on the market. I do think there's a chance, with what D'Amico likes and what D'Amico wants, that if they had both been available, I think they would have liked Mixon more than Saquon. I think he would have been their choice.
I agree. And they clearly feel really good about Joe Mixon because in addition to trading for him, they went and paid him and they wanted him to stick around beyond the year that he had. And that went a long way into him getting excited about this opportunity and everything. So, yeah, I tend to agree with you that Mixon, if he was available, especially with what he cost, because he's not as expensive as Saquon, they might have gone that route anyway instead of going with Saquon.
Yeah, I think he's their guy, and I think at the very minimum, then it's probably similar. Saquon's having a hell of a year, but the Mixon thing just it lined up perfect. And I don't know what are they saying in Cincinnati about Mixon? I've asked this before. What's the dialogue? I know Brown has done a decent job filling in, but he's not Joe Mixon. Like I wonder what they're saying in Cincinnati to justify bringing in Zach Moss instead of Joe Mixon.
Did the Texans get more for Cam Akers than the Bengals got for Joe Mixon?
It's the same.
It was the same conditional pick. It's conditional. Okay.
Yeah,
right.
It was the same thing.
It's wild they didn't want that player in the building. And I know that they might have had to pay him a little bit more and change the contract, but it's wild that a player of that caliber was not wanted in Cincinnati, and they felt like Zach Moss was going to be the answer, and it benefited the Texans greatly. And a great job by the Texans because, remember, everybody was in full-on running back panic after day one of free agency because Saquon was gone and who's the guy on the Bears that's not any good this year that came over from Philadelphia?
Swift.
DeAndre Swift was gone, and this guy, and it was like, okay, well, I guess they're going to get Aaron Jones. And it's like, and then Joe Mixon became available, and it's like, oh, okay, like this was a nice pivot. And then people were still kind of questioning, is there enough left? He's 28, he's almost 29. Like, is that the right way to go? They nailed it. It's a great pivot by them.
Yeah, he did a hell of a job, very, very much. And I think that, there's some people in the chat that say, Saquon's better. I love Saquon. I was a Saquon guy. And I just don't know, like behind this offensive line, if you might need a little bit more of a Joe Mixon style than a Saquon. I think Saquon would have been fine. I think in the pass game he would provide some things, but who knows? Yeah, I think they're happy with how it went, and I think Philadelphia is happy that they were able to bring in Saquon. So,
look, Saquon's running behind that top 5 offensive line as well. I mean, how did Saquon look when some of those bad Giants offensive lines were out there on the field? It didn't look great. A little bit banged down. So, all right, a couple super chats here, Landry. Lucid Illusions, respect both of y'all. Been watching both of y'all for the past couple of years. Regardless of disagreements I may have, y'all are the best. Appreciate you for the kind words.
Thank you.
Herman says Saquon's more athletic, but Mixon's a better fit. I tend to agree. The sideways ability of Saquon is better than Mixon, but Mixon's more physical than Saquon from taking on contact standpoint. And then Raphael, you fellas have been executing, just giving y'all crap about the audio. Love the content. Keep it up, fellas. Yeah, we just got to execute better.
Look, this is the first time we got to execute. Well, hey, we got to execute. I'll be specific. I don't know. I think the Roadcaster and the Wi-Fi, probably a bad idea to play audio, if we're being honest. I don't got to be specific. Probably a bad idea to play audio. So that's on me. And I will be specific on it.
As Patrick said, to be fair, it was the audio's rookie year.
Well, technically it was. Technically, it definitely was.
A couple of quick things about this game on Sunday, Landry. No Taylor Decker, so their star left tackle is not playing in this one. It doesn't totally offset the fact that there's not going to be a Will Anderson on the field for the Texans, but if you get Danielle Hunter matched up against the backup guy, I like the situation there for the Texans. And then their big trade addition, Zadarius Smith, he's questionable. They traded for him at the trade deadline from Cleveland. He hasn't practiced this week, so he's questionable, and they got a bunch of schmucks as pass rushers if they don't have Zadarius Smith out there. They were good because Aiden Hutchinson was healthy. When they didn't have Aiden Hutchinson, they don't have anybody.
Yeah, what scares you the most about this game, though? I was back there. I was talking
the Texans' offensive line.
Yeah. Besides that, come on. Obviously, but I should have prefaced it with behinds. I was talking to Corey Barrett back there, and I feel like when you fix something with duct tape, like let's say you have a leak and you just like throw some tape on it, and like if it holds up for a long time, then that's great, but it's not something you can rely on long term. I don't know how much longer they're going to be able to hide Jalen Petrie, especially against this team. Like this, and I heard I thought the criticism of D'Amico and Burke was actually unfair with Jalen Petrie being one-on-one against Devontae Adams, because in that situation you had to get the Jets off the field, and at some point they're going to find Jalen Petrie when he's on the field. Like he's going to be found. They're going to find Jalen Petrie when he's on the field. I'll let you take that shot of tequila real quick first, though. Go ahead and hit the tequila. There you go, Stoots. Okay. Okay, there you go. There you go. There you go. But you're not going to be able to hide him all this time. So with the Lions, the thing that scares me the most is I just think there's so many explosive, intermediate, and deep threats. I think the corners will hold their own. But when you're talking about Gibbs out of the backfield, you're talking about Laporta, you're talking about St. Brown in the slot. That's what scares me about the Texans. Now, the good news is the defense is coached at the highest level possible. So I think they'll be fine. Like, they'll be prepared. I just don't know if man on man, they're going to be able to contain these weapons the way that they're going to need to.
Hey, look, you got to survive when they go after Petrie. You got to be able to counter that, to kind of keep that from happening. Or, when it is a short pass, you got to tackle well to counteract that. They're going to find him. You just got to make it so that it's not a back-breaking touchdown like the Adams one last week. Like, if it's 20 yards, they get into Texans territory. Okay, bow up. Don't let them get anything more than a field goal. Like, they're going to find Jalen Petrie. That's going to happen. And Goff gets the ball out quick. He's efficient. All those great things. So the pass rush isn't always going to be the answer. You do have Azeez back this week. So you're going to have Azeez Al-Shire back there at linebacker. And then you got Jimmy Ward back this week. I have no idea how long Jimmy Ward's going to be on the field. I hope he's on there for a lot because Ward's back. I think Jimmy can help a lot with making sure that everything goes right with the defense so that Petrie's not left on the island and not in a bad situation.
The thing that D'Amico, like today, like on days like this, I know they say it's like just a visit with D'Amico Ryans. It's on the schedule, but it's kind of uncanny when you talk to D'Amico Ryans like we did today, and it's not a bit when it comes to him talking about defense. And he says basically that the preparation doesn't change no matter what, like who they're playing or anything like that.
I just think this is the wrong opponent to say, well, if we do our job, we'll just take care of business. This is not the opponent for that.
You don't think this is a stay in your gap type of opponent?
Look, you could say, hey, we can dictate how things operate against most teams when the Colts are in town or when the Jaguars are in town or even the Bills shorthanded with their what. I don't know that you could totally dictate exactly what you want the Lions to do in this one. I think they do a little bit of dictating with their offense.
I think you kind of can, and I think D'Amico kind of has experience in it because I think you can make Jared Goff uncomfortable. I think that's really the key. I don't think it's a you sit back. Like I could see this being a game where there's a lot of blitzing going on because D'Amico knows a lot about Jared Goff. And as good as Jared Goff is, there are those moments where it's like, okay, that's the guy that they hated with the Rams. We don't see him as often, but if there's anyone that can make that happen, and it's obviously more difficult without Will Anderson out there, but I think D'Amico is the guy that can make Jared Goff uncomfortable. I think that's really the key to throwing off this Lions offense because I don't think man on man, I don't think the Texans are just lining up as good as the corners are and stopping that array of weapons. I think it just comes down to making Jared Goff uncomfortable.
You throw him off and they can't move the ball through the air. The Texans have had some really good success stopping the run. I know this is a really good rushing attack coming to town with Gibbs and Montgomery, but if you throw Goff off, you just need a window. Like, and how's Detroit going to handle if they have a hiccup in the middle of a game? Because they haven't had many hiccups over the past few weeks. They haven't had many things not go their way. How are they going to handle something in the middle of a game? Loud crowd, Texans start feeling themselves. Maybe you put some points on the board, not field goals. You put touchdowns on the board. How, are the Lions going to be able to handle this? Like, they're due. Like, I don't want to be their due guy, but they're due. The Lions are due to have a stinker.
The betting line has me feeling really weird about this because it's at 3 right now, I think. And it went down. This is kind of like the Jets game where it was like, okay, well, they obviously know that it's lined up. Maybe Nico's just that much of a factor. Maybe we're just talking about Nico is that much of a factor.
I mean, when you think about what Nico Collins has accomplished, he's played 5 games, really 4.5, really 4.25, and he's 14th in receiving yards. He's the only wide receiver in football that's averaging 100 yards or more per game, and he's 6th in yards per reception. And he's doing all that in 4 games and a quarter. Like, if you wanted to tell me about a wide receiver that can move a line a little bit, this feels like the guy.
Here's the problem, and I'm comparing the Texans and Lions like on the scale. Like the Texans are on this tier, and they're trying to get up to this tier. The Lions are already on this tier. They're just trying to get to the very top. But like the teams like the Lions, not really the Chiefs right now, but like the Lions, the Ravens, the 49ers,
Bills.
Chiefs are just on I don't. Yeah, Bills too. Bills probably.
Okay.
Yeah, Bills too. The one thing the Texans don't really have that I think all these other teams have, and we're putting the Chiefs to the side for the sake of this. They don't have like that third guy that is like, or that third element that is just like, okay, this completely changes things. Like they have Mixon, they have Nico. We really haven't seen Tank consistently, but the Lions, they have Jamison Williams, they have St. Brown. They have the running backs.
Laporta.
They have the Laporta factor. Like, I don't even know that the Texans, like, when it comes to like Dalton Schultz or a receiver, not that's not their top 2 or their top running back, that is just going to come make like big plays for you. They really don't have like a balanced set of playmakers, the Texans offense, especially with Diggs out.
You're telling me this in the John Mechie week? Or the Xavier Hutchinson week? Or the Robert Woods week? That's not happening this week? Don't answer that. We'll get to the Super Chats. Zach Rose with the Super Chat bets on how many plays Ward is in until he gets hurt. Now, come on. Come on. Give Jimmy a break here, okay? Give Jimmy a break.
Did you not think it was weird, though, with Jimmy this week when he spoke and he was basically like, you never know when your next play can be your last?
I mean, I've heard guys say that before, but when a guy who's played as much football as Jimmy Ward has played, and the injuries have started to pile up in recent years, okay, maybe you raise a little eyebrow. Jimmy Ward's under contract for next year, though. I would advise Jimmy Ward to not retire. I would advise Jimmy Ward to go get his money.
Yeah.
Quick one from Jason on the Super Chat. Got to play better. Is getting old. Explain how. Block.
That's it. Block.
Win your one-on-ones, as Titus said last week.
Execute. Not a big fan of the execution.
What is it? What did Brian Kelly say a couple years ago? What do you think about your team's execution, Coach? I'm in favor of it.
Got Big Derek in the building. Shout out to everyone coming through. We got a lot.
Let's do a little here.
All that. Yeah. Let's show the crowd. Look at that. What's going down here? What did you order to eat?
I have not ordered yet. I was waiting to do the show.
I was scouting the menu, my man. I was scouting the menu for sure. See what's going on.
I love their honey citrus.
Honey citrus?
Yeah, that's what I think it's called, the honey citrus.
This dude
so many different
sauce on the side, though. This dude orders his sauce on the side. He orders chicken tenders and gets his sauce on the side.
I usually go honey citrus, chipotle barbecue, and I love their teriyaki.
Absolute scrubbage.
Oh, you're one to criticize. Everything's great here. Big City Wings. We appreciate them for having us out, and we'll do a bunch of these out and about outings and things like that over the next couple of weeks. So if you didn't make this one, you can get ready to make the next one, and we appreciate everybody watching online as well. Yeah, get the questions in. We'll go for an hour. Get the questions in.
We'll answer those. My concern with this game is the obvious, the offensive line and the intermediate passing game. My optimism is the betting line and the return of Nico Collins, potentially. That's really where my optimism is.
Okay, so it's Monday morning, Landry. We're firing up S&L, 9 a.m. Monday morning. Explain to me how the Texans win this football game. Like write the story on how the Texans win this. Sunday Night Football, debut of the Battle Red jerseys, open roof, weather pending. Write me the story on how the Texans beat the Lions on Sunday Night Football.
I think it's as easy as making Goff uncomfortable, get to Goff. I think if they have 5+ sacks, I think that's a good formula. And I also think fourth down. I think fourth down is where you're going to win. A lot of times you say third down, fourth down. Like the Lions will give you an opportunity to completely capitalize on their aggressiveness. And if that means that the Lions get inside the 10 and they decide they're going to go for it on 4th and 3 and you make that stop, then that's basically like a turnover. Like as much as we praise the Lions when they convert on 4th, if you go for it on 4th and 2 from the 20 and you don't convert, that's basically the same thing as a turnover on defense. So they're going to give you those opportunities. I think fourth down and getting to Jared Goff is the key. I could say offensive line, but that would just be too easy. But that would be what I would point to and say when it comes to the keys to this game.
I am ready to be hurt yet again because I very much, in my heart of hearts, I believe they're going to pass block better than they have over the past 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
They're going to pass block better than they have over the past 3 weeks. And I know that's a low bar to clear, but we thought it couldn't get any worse after Green Bay, and it got worse. And we thought it couldn't get any worse after Indianapolis, and it got worse. It will not get worse this week. It will get better. I do believe they're going to pass block better. Mixon's going to have yet another huge game. That is the engine of this offense is Joe Mixon's physicality and how he takes care of business on the ground. And Nico plays and scores a touchdown, and they beat the Lions. That's how they do it.
Okay,
That's
so you're going with Nico. Okay. Yeah, I think it's going to be Nico. I'm going to keep saying this until it happens. I think Dalton Schultz has his first touchdown.
Okay.
We got to see something from the tight end at some point. It's got to happen.
What about a Cade Stover touchdown this weekend?
You probably get pretty good odds on that at BetUS. Yes. Promo code YouTube 150.
Yes, you could. Yep, that is true. What? I guess my question is, what if they don't pass block well again? I think that's like the scariest thing to ask about this matchup.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's like scary because I think that CJ is good enough to where if the pass blocking isn't good, you can still get the job done. It's really just how he handles it. Like, I'm not like if the Texans were dependent on good pass blocking, then they wouldn't be 6-3 and they wouldn't have like the AFC South by the balls like the way they do right now. There have been games they've won where the pass blocking hasn't been good and CJ Stroud has handled it. So that's the good thing. Like, I think Jared Goff is more dependent on having to have good pass blocking than CJ Stroud. I think CJ Stroud, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers when he's good,
Burrow,
even Prescott sometimes, Burrow, like those guys are, and I'm not saying CJ's like in that category, but those guys are not dependent on the blocking being perfect for them to win games or for them to be effective. I think Jared Goff is. And that's why I think if you can make Jared Goff uncomfortable, I think you can. I think that's the key. And that's really the best way I can say it. Like if you told me that the Texans were dependent on the pass block, I would say, oh shit. Like that's not an ideal scenario for the Texans, but I don't think they're dependent on it. Now, is it a lot harder when it's not there? Yes. But they're not dependent on it. Jared Goff is dependent on it. And you still have Danielle Hunter. You don't have Will Anderson.
Danico Autry, 2 sacks last week.
He did. And I do think there's going to be a little bit more blitzing too, because D'Amico knows Jared Goff. How many other quarterbacks does D'Amico know better than Jared Goff? Like if you go back to the Rams, Niners, like how many times has DeMeco Ryans prepared for Jared Goff? It's been a lot.
I gotta imagine Kyler's the only guy that's close. Like, Goff probably is the tops.
Yeah, like he's Jared Goff and all that. And this is like, not only that, when he first started preparing for Jared Goff, he was basically like an assistant. So he's really trying to prove himself, and he's really cramming. And I know he always does, but it's like you're really, 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 really studying. If you're DeMeco, you know how DeMeco is. Like DeMeco, like if DeMeco were a normal like person and he had to go to like in the normal real world and he had an internship, or he was like under Robert Saleh or whoever the hell it was, dude, he's the best intern ever. Like if DeMeco is like the guy that has the coffee, he has all the information, he has your entire, like he has crammed for Jared Goff before. He knows Goff. That might be a nobody's talking about.
You're right about that. All right, couple super chats. We'll wrap this thing up here. Tiemann says best run D, worst passing D favors us. I think Stroud has a big game. He's pissed. Yeah, well, I think he's actually just relaxed. I think he's ready to just get after it.
It feels like the opposite of pissed, which might even be scarier.
Tay says give Taylor more touches. 3 for 23 last week. Is it JJ Taylor?
No, I agree. I think he should have a chance to be RB2 this week.
I don't want JJ Taylor to touch the ball.
Who's your RB2 then?
Dare.
Come on. I want to see some more JJ Taylor.
He says give Taylor more touches. This week isn't bad for 3 for 23. Last week isn't bad for his first outing. Well, it was his fourth outing, but okay. Involve the tight end more in check downs and let them work. Okay. Thank you, Tay. Birdie boy, what if they don't score a second half touchdown again?
Man, then Bobby's gonna get completely railroaded.
Bobby's in trouble if that happens. Tiemann says Goff isn't a QB you plan for, though. Everything is hand catered to him. They handled Allen. They'll be good. Tiemann with some confidence here.
Yeah,
it's good stuff. And then
you didn't prepare for him though. You want to make him uncomfortable.
And then Arrow says drink on me. And he says look in front. I think that's him over there. All right. Well, he's going to get us a
man right there.
All right.
The man right there.
All right.
Landry,
we'll wrap this thing up here from Big City Wings.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up. Shout out to Big City Wings for having us out. We're going to try to get on the road a lot more. Shout out to the 12 Hun deep, including the people on X. It's been a really fun time. The digital game is obviously taken off. Channel's 2.5 years old. I think yours is around the same age, and I think this is the direction it's going. And this is one of the better remotes we've been to in a while. And thanks to Sam and everyone for having us out. Thanks to everyone for coming through.
Sam from Big City Wings, Rich, the manager here, all his staff here at Big City Wings, they did a fantastic job.
I'm about to pig the F out.
And then thanks to everybody who came to watch the show. We appreciate everybody as well.
Love you. All right. Appreciate y'all for coming through. Always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together.
Eat good, sleep good, be good. We'll talk Texans again soon. We're damn sure going to eat good at Big City Wings.